One mistake doesn't just cost a game, it can erase a legacy. Picture a rising star quarterback, one bad habit hidden beneath a record-breaking contract. Imagine a sure-handed wideout thundering down an empty Las Vegas street at 127 miles per hour. Picture a seasoned coach who presses send on an email that detonates his own dynasty. These aren't rumors. They're the moments that turn silver and black dreams into cautionary tales. In this video, we're exposing 10 Raiders, players and coaches, who destroyed their careers with a single misstep. For each chapter, you'll hear the build-up, feel the snap of the mistake, and witness the fallout, shattered locker rooms, courtroom spotlights, and contracts ripped in half. You'll learn how fragile greatness really is, and what every athlete fears most: the day their own choices suit up against them. We'll dig into lesser-known twists, like the surprise locker room confession that forced a mid-season release, or the quiet stay to the very end because the final story is still unfolding, and the smallest hidden detail might change how you view this franchise forever. Welcome to History of Raiders, the channel where we unmask the boldest, darkest chapters of Raider lore. If gridiron history, drama, and raw truth keep you on the edge of your seat, tap that subscribe button and ring the bell right now. The whistle is blown, the clock is running, and redemption is no longer an option. Number 1. JaMarcus Russell. In 2007, the Oakland Raiders were desperate for a savior. They held the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, and they believed they had found their future in LSU quarterback JaMarcus Russell. He was tall, powerful, and had an arm so strong it became legend. Coaches said he could throw a football 70 yards while sitting on the ground. The potential was undeniable, but behind the highlight reels and the draft day excitement, something was already cracking. Russell held out for a better rookie contract. He missed the entire training camp and didn't sign until after the first week of the season. The Raiders paid him $61 million, with nearly half guaranteed. That contract would become one of the most regrettable in NFL history. When he finally showed up, he was out of shape and unprepared. Coaches quickly noticed he struggled with playbooks and often looked lost on the field. His teammates began to lose trust. By his second year, his weight ballooned to over 300 pounds, far above what a quarterback should carry. There were whispers of poor work ethic, missed meetings, and an over-reliance on raw talent. He rarely spoke in the locker room, and when he did, it lacked the leadership expected from a franchise quarterback. In 2010, Russell's career took a final hit. He was arrested for possession of codeine syrup without a prescription, a drug commonly linked with the street mixture known as purple drank. Though he avoided jail time, the damage to his image was irreversible. No team wanted the risk. The Raiders released him, and he never played another snap in the NFL. Behind the scenes, coaches admitted they had fabricated play names during film reviews just to test if he had actually watched the tapes. He failed the test. In the end, it wasn't just one mistake, but one fatal mix of attitude, timing, and denial that closed the chapter on what should have been a dominant legacy. Number 2. Todd Marinovich. Todd Marinovich wasn't just any rookie. He was supposed to be the next great quarterback, engineered for the role by a father who treated football like a science experiment. From childhood, every part of Todd's life was controlled, from his diet to his training. He didn't eat fast food. He didn't drink soda. He was bred to be a machine. And for a moment, it worked. Marinovich lit up the field at USC, earning a first-round selection by the Los Angeles Raiders in 1991. Expectations were high, but pressure, perfection, and isolation don't mix very well. Marinovich's NFL career began to wobble almost immediately. The talent was there, but so were the cracks. Off-field partying, late practices, and erratic play. Then came the breaking point. The 1991 AFC wildcard game against the Kansas City Chiefs. It was Marinovich's first playoff appearance and the biggest game of his life. He collapsed under the weight, throwing 4 interceptions in a 10-6 loss. What happened afterwards sealed his fate. Inside the locker room, fuming and humiliated, Marinovich picked up his helmet and hurled it at a mirror, shattering both the glass and, symbolically, the image of his carefully constructed future. It wasn't just a bad game, it was a moment of unraveling. Teammates saw it, coaches noted it, the Raiders had doubts. From there, the spiral began. Marinovich turned further toward drugs, first recreationally, then dependently. By the 1992 season, he failed his first drug test, then a second, then a third. Each failure chipped away at his credibility and standing with the team. The Raiders released him not long after. In just 2 seasons, the quarterback created to be perfect had self-destructed. The helmet incident didn't just mark a bad game, it became the turning point, the symbol of a career that had never really belonged to Marinovich in the first place. Number 3, Henry Ruggs III. Henry Ruggs III was supposed to be the future. Drafted 12th overall in the 2020 NFL Draft, he was the first wide receiver taken, picked over names like Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb. Known for his blazing speed, Ruggs had been clocked at a jaw-dropping 4.27 seconds in the 40-yard dash. The Raiders saw him as their next big playmaker, a deep threat, a star in the making. For a while, it looked like they were right. Ruggs showed flashes of brilliance on the field. He had the rare ability to stretch defenses, to turn a routine play into a touchdown. But off the field, his life was spiraling. And on one tragic night in November 2021, it all came crashing down. Ruggs was driving his Corvette at 127 miles per hour down a residential road in Las Vegas. He had been drinking, his blood alcohol level more than twice the legal limit. In the passenger seat was his girlfriend. In front of him, in another car, was a 23-year-old woman named Tina Tintor and her dog. The impact was devastating. Ruggs's Corvette slammed into Tina's Toyota RAV4 with such force that the car burst into flames. She was trapped inside and burned alive. It was a horrific end to an innocent life. The crash not only ended Tina's life, it ended Ruggs's career on the spot. The Raiders released him within hours. Sponsors vanished. His name disappeared from the NFL almost overnight. Once considered a rising face of the franchise, Ruggs became a symbol of reckless decisions and lost potential. He was later sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to DUI resulting in death. One mistake, one night, and everything was gone. His future, his freedom, and the trust of a team that had once believed he was their next legend.
Number 4, Rolando McClain. Rolando McClain entered the NFL with sky-high expectations. Drafted 8th overall by the Oakland Raiders in 2010, he was supposed to be the defensive cornerstone for years to come. A standout linebacker from Alabama, McClain had the size, speed, and instincts to command the middle of the field. The Raiders believed they had found a future Pro Bowler. But behind the athletic promise, cracks were already forming. McClain struggled to adjust to the NFL's pace and pressure. His performance on the field was inconsistent, flashes of brilliance followed by mental lapses and missed assignments. Still, it was his off-field behavior that would truly define his time in silver and black. In November 2012, during his 3rd season, McClain posted a cryptic message on Facebook. Officially no longer an Oakland Raider, just waiting on my papers. The news blindsided the team, the media, and even his own teammates. There had been no formal announcement, no press release, just a social media bombshell that exploded in real time. Within hours, speculation swirled. Was he cut? Did he quit? No one knew for sure. What followed was a bizarre unraveling. Reports surfaced that McClain had been dismissed from practice after a heated exchange with coaches. Rather than handle it quietly, he turned to Facebook again. If you're reading this, you're not a friend of mine. The message seemed aimed at everyone. Teammates, coaches, fans. The Raiders didn't release him immediately, but the trust was gone. His role diminished, his locker emptied out, and by April 2013, the team officially cut ties. He was just 23 years old. What made McClain's fall so strange was how public it was. Most career breakdowns happened behind closed doors, but McClain's unfolded in real time, on social media, with every word preserved in screenshots. For the Raiders, it wasn't just a player walking out. It was a meltdown that happened live, in front of the entire football world. Number 5, Tom Cable. Tom Cable wasn't your typical NFL coach. Gritty, intense, and fiercely old school, he climbed the ranks through toughness and loyalty. By the time he took over the Raiders in 2008, Cable had developed a reputation as a no-nonsense leader who didn't shy away from confrontation. But it was one confrontation off the field that would cost him dearly. During the 2009 training camp, tensions ran high inside the Raiders facility. The team was under pressure, struggling with inconsistency and leadership issues. On one particular day, that pressure boiled over. Cable got into a heated argument with assistant coach Randy Hansen during a coaches' meeting. What began as words escalated fast and ended with Cable reportedly throwing a punch at Hansen so hard that he broke his jaw. The story exploded across sports media. Hansen was hospitalized, and Cable denied deliberately throwing a punch, saying it was more of an accidental shove. But others present in the room told a different story. The league and law enforcement began investigating, and although no criminal charges were filed, the incident left a stain on Cable's image. Internally, the damage was done. Raiders management couldn't ignore the optics, an NFL head coach physically attacking his own staff. It raised serious questions about Cable's temperament and leadership style. The Raiders kept Cable around for another season, but the atmosphere had shifted. Players were divided. Some respected his fire, but others feared it. After a disappointing 8-8 season in 2010, owner Al Davis declined to renew Cable's contract. The team never publicly tied his departure to the punching incident, but insiders knew the truth. That one moment in a closed-door meeting had quietly ended his time as the face of the franchise. Cable would go on to coach in other roles across the league, but the shadow of that punch never fully disappeared. What could have been a long-term leadership role in Oakland was undone with one fist thrown in anger. Number 6, Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden wasn't just a coach, he was a symbol. The man who led the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to their first Super Bowl title, then returned to the Raiders as the highest-paid coach in NFL history. In 2018, he signed a 10-year, $100 million contract to bring the silver and black back to glory. The fan base was electrified. Gruden wasn't just a coach, he was a Raiders legend coming home. But behind the scenes, something was festering. In 2021, during an unrelated investigation into the Washington Commanders' workplace misconduct, a trove of old emails surfaced. Among them were private messages Gruden had sent between 2010 and 2018, years before his return to coaching. The emails were crude, offensive, and unapologetically hostile.
He insulted players, league officials, and even NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, using language that was racist, sexist, and homophobic. At first, only one email leaked. Gruden apologized and tried to move on. But the floodgates soon opened. Dozens more came out, each one worse than the last. The NFL could no longer ignore it. Within 24 hours of the full leak, Gruden resigned as head coach of the Raiders. The resignation wasn't graceful, it was forced. The man who once led locker rooms with fire and charisma had been exposed as a liability, his leadership reputation shattered in public view. What made it even more shocking was how far-reaching the consequences were. Gruden wasn't just removed from coaching, he became toxic across the entire league. No front office, no broadcast network, no football-related business wanted to associate with his name. His fall wasn't due to bad play calling or a losing streak. It came from an inbox, sealed by time, and cracked open by a different investigation entirely. One private thread, years old, changed the course of his entire career. Number 7, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown arrived in Oakland with sky-high expectations. One of the NFL's most electrifying wide receivers, he had just left Pittsburgh after a dramatic fallout with the Steelers. The Raiders saw in him a chance to reignite their offense, add star power, and send a bold message to the league. But behind the headlines and press photos, something was unraveling fast. It started with his infamous helmet dispute. Brown refused to wear the league-approved gear, claiming it affected his vision. He missed practices, filed grievances, and aired frustrations on social media. The team gave him space, hoping things would calm down, but they didn't. Then came the frostbite, literally. Brown showed up with blistered feet after using a cryotherapy chamber without proper footwear. It delayed his training, added tension, and raised more questions than answers. Still, the Raiders waited. They kept him on the roster, they defended him publicly. But the tipping point came in early September, just days before the season opener. Brown got into a heated argument with Raiders GM Mike Mayock during a team walkthrough. Witnesses say it escalated fast. Brown reportedly called Mayock a racial slur, threatened violence, and had to be held back by teammates. The outburst wasn't just emotional, it was explosive. After that, trust was gone. Brown issued an apology to the team behind closed doors, but the damage had been done. When he later posted a video of a private phone call with head coach Jon Gruden without Gruden's consent, it was clear things couldn't continue. The Raiders fined him, voided nearly $30 million in guaranteed money, and released him before he ever played a regular season snap. In just a few weeks, Antonio Brown went from the face of a new era to a cautionary headline. One outburst, one clash, one moment of chaos, and the bridge was gone, burned beyond repair. Number 8. Jon Matuzac. Jon Matuzac was more embraced the wild lifestyle that defined the Raiders in the 1970s and 80s. He was known for partying hard, showing up to practices hungover, or sometimes not showing up at all. Alcohol, pills, and cocaine weren't occasional indulgences for him. They became routine. His growing dependence on substances didn't just interfere with his training, it slowly eroded his body, his focus, and his reliability as a professional athlete. Coaches and teammates often looked the other way as long as he produced results on Sundays. And for a while, he did. But as the seasons passed, the damage became visible. Injuries lingered longer. Conditioning slipped. Eventually, the edge that made him fearsome dulled. Matuzac tried to pivot into Hollywood, landing a few roles, most famously as Sloth in The Goonies. But even as his fame stretched beyond football, his inner demons never loosened their grip. Behind his loud persona and wild energy was a man slowly burning out. The same intensity that made him unstoppable on the field made him self-destructive of physical punishment and substance abuse. Matuzac died at just 38. His cause of death? Heart failure, worsened by years of drug use. Number 9. John Pierce wasn't just another interim coach trying to steady a sinking ship. When he stepped in after Josh McDaniels' firing, many saw a spark. His intensity, his past as a player, his connection to the locker room. Players rallied behind him. Fans began whispering about a comeback. The Raiders, for a brief moment, had heart again. But then came a moment that didn't involve a playbook, but a whistle. A moment that opened up questions not about tactics, but about leadership under pressure. During a tightly contested game in late 2023, with the Raiders fighting for momentum, the sideline exploded in confusion. Officials had flagged a bizarre whistle interruption during a crucial down. Cameras quickly panned to the coaching staff. The sound hadn't come from the refs. Speculation began swirling that the whistle came from the Raiders' own sideline. Reports were never officially confirmed, but the rumors gained traction. Some believed it came from someone in Pierce's circle, possibly as an attempt to confuse or reset the play. Others chalked it up to pure miscommunication. The NFL took notice, so did media insiders. The whistle drama didn't just stain the play, it raised deeper questions about sideline discipline and control. Was it a minor lapse of judgment or something more intentional? Whether true or not, the noise clung to Pierce like smoke. Suddenly, the fiery interim coach wasn't just the fresh voice of leadership, he was a man under scrutiny. Ownership began to hesitate, the media shifted tone, and in the NFL, perception can close doors just as fast as results can open them.
Pierce still had the players' respect, but leadership at the executive level became cautious. The momentum he'd built began to slow. Though he eventually got the permanent role in early 2024, the whistle incident shadowed his rise, and many questioned whether it had already limited how far he could really go. Not every career-crushing mistake comes from the spotlight. Sometimes it's the quiet names, the role players and background moves that leave ripple effects felt for seasons. In 2023, one of the strangest blunders in recent draft history unfolded. And it didn't involve a scandal or an arrest. It involved confusion between two men with the same name. Number 10, Byron Young. The Raiders had their eyes set on Byron Young, the versatile defensive lineman from Alabama. Scouts praised his relentless motor and SEC experience. He was expected to be a steady, hard-nosed addition to a defense desperate for consistency. But somewhere between the draft boards and the phone call, wires crossed. The Raiders ended up selecting the other Byron Young, an edge rusher from Tennessee. A fine player in his own right, but not the one Vegas had intended. The mix-up wasn't officially confirmed by the front office, but insiders and analysts across the league raised eyebrows. Raiders fans were confused. Media outlets noted the awkward silence from staffers. Behind the scenes, it was chaos. While both Youngs were NFL-ready talents, the Tennessee version wasn't seen as a schematic fit for the Raiders' system at the time. That meant valuable reps, schemes, and even contract plans were scrambled. The Alabama Byron Young went to the Rams, where he would later shine as a smart, aggressive disruptor. Vegas, meanwhile, was left reshuffling a depth chart they never meant to build. This moment didn't result in headlines or suspensions. No reporters camped outside anyone's home. But for a scouting department already under scrutiny, it was a quiet embarrassment, one that may have cost them defensive chemistry, locker room stability, and trust in talent evaluation. Mistakes don't always explode. They sometimes leak out, slow, over seasons. For the Raiders, this one might have been a small name with a large consequence. One mistake. That's all it takes to bring down even the most promising career. A single moment of bad judgment, a heated decision, or a careless act, suddenly everything a player built is gone. Glory fades, contracts vanish, legacies turn into cautionary tales. Each story you've just heard is a reminder that pressure, fame, and responsibility don't always mix well. The Raiders have long been a team of rebels and legends, but even legends fall. From first-round picks to Hall of Fame hopefuls, no one is immune to the weight of a single life-altering mistake. These players and coaches had the talent. Some had the records, others had the rings. But what they lacked, just for a moment, was control. It wasn't a lack of skill that ruined them. It was the decisions made off the field. The speeding car, the email, the fist, the addiction, the silence when they should have spoken up. In football, success isn't just about speed, strength, or strategy. It's about character, and sometimes even luck. So now we ask you, which moment shocked you the most? Was it the tragic fall of a young star, or the quiet misstep that ruined a veteran's final chance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read them all. And if you want more stories like this, raw, real, and unforgettable, like this video and subscribe to History of Raiders. New videos every week, diving deep into the victories, disasters, and untold moments that shaped Raider history.